And okie dokie. Frost giants, a little bit scary. That is where we have to start reaching into our contingency plans here. Make sure we switch over to at least our 1 pip of RC. Fortunately, we don't have to miss out or lose any of our resistance to fire as a trade-off to that, so that's nice when we're dealing with both actively here. Let's use our experience evocables efficiently here, trying to get some extra damage in. Not too bad. Definitely cautious. Still a little bit scared. Giants are always a little bit freaky the first time you run into them. I guess the elemental giants specifically. So I want to be aware and cognizant that things can really start to take a sudden turn. As we, as always, take so many turns to finish every fight, with the combination of our low damage weapon and the attack speed as well. Thank you so much, Ian Byrne, for the follow. Appreciate it a whole lot. And here we go, up against our first profane servitor. I think I'm gonna toss a net. As game, please. It's only 38% chance to hit, but come on. Please. There we go. And I actually should have, dang it, switched to the friggin' knight sooner. Would have at least gone 1 stab off, but alas, we don't get to take advantage of that fun mechanic today, and instead we'll just go for the old quick blade route. I mean, if it's not broke and all that, but would have been cool to single hit kill a profane servitor, wouldn't it? Have to save those nets for a future encounter, I guess. And there we go, back into the main thick of it. Hopefully not running into too many of those special vaults again. These are one of the few things that still freak me out, even on a run that's doing this solidly in every other regard. I guess the fact that we were able to deal with that does give me some confidence for if we choose to go the route of the Abyss for our 3rd rune, because we will be facing against monsters like that at the very least. And one more lightning rod, trying our very best to get rid of the shaman. Perfect, only had the chance to haste one of their troll buddies. Love to see it. And not too bad whatsoever. I don't think I've missed any fancy shields lying around, right? Fortunately, the game does allow us to quickly check on that. Okay, no, it looks like we're safe in that regard. I would love to find a kite shield with a solid ego on it, though. Game, if you're listening, please, next floor maybe? That would be convenient for me. Wouldn't be the first time you listen to my wishes at the exact moment. Maybe, just maybe. Okie dokie, quite the freaky room here, especially considering the fact that I keep doing this little back and forth nonsense. There we go, make sure that we... Come on, I need to stop this. Keep walking towards the crowd of enemies, and one of these days I'm gonna get punished for it. Please step up to me, there we go. That's what happens when you attack too fast. You end up with these weird mid-turn, or yeah, I guess mid-turn steps and that kind of thing, where you're offset from the enemies. So they don't manage to close the gap to you quite when you expect it. But, I think now's about the time that I start running away. Looks like most of the enemies we left behind were distracted by gold on our way out, so big ups to Gozag up in the sky. Love you, bud. Saving our life left and right throughout the game here. Also, I shouldn't have auto-explored. Now I have no idea what kind of stuff I'm leaving at my back as well as running into at the front, but we'll never get punished, right? This kind of horrible play that has led to both many victories in the past as well as throwing away many a halfling life. But this is definitely going to be the former. No way do we possibly lose ourselves quite the extent that we have in the past, right? As long as we believe hard enough, at the very least. In force our will upon the world, as it were. And definitely not going too bad so far in depths here, besides this one nightmare chamber. Hello, friends. Please come this way. Thank you kindly. I do also like that since I upgraded my Fustabalis with the enchant weapon scrolls, I don't think I've used it a single time, have I? Good solid play. Good, thoughtful, solid play for me as usual. I'm sure it will come in handy though, so I don't regret my decisions by any stretch of the imagination. Especially again, considering the fact that now we're up to 483 sling bullets. That's no joke. But neither's a caustic strike. Oh my gosh. Glad I noticed you come in the right moment there, because these are a complete run ender for me. They're one of those rare monsters that each and every time I see them now, I clench a little bit inside, because again, another monster that we've lost a much too promising run to in the past. Never again is the goal, at least. Fortunately, our resistance to fire is pretty solid, so even though we're getting a little bit lower in health here, still willing to push through just a wee bit. And you know, it's about time that we look at our skills. In fact, yes, we should have done so earlier, as we keep throwing experience into fighting here. Might turn that off, get evocations heading up, and maybe another defensive skill. Even just a few more points into something like armor and dodging, maybe. We'll split it up, since I'm not being very cognizant of my skills here. And evocations, I'm going to just keep ramping up till the end, because I do love some of the effects that we get out of that. But what did we swap out for the resist cold? I should try and remember this off the top of my head. What does my other artifact ring do? I know it gives me like evasion +4, strength +4, stealth pip 1, and there's one other effect that I'm missing. Resist corrosion. And also dex instead of strength, but I was close, not too bad. But thank you for the reminder. Let's definitely make sure to switch out that bad boy. Even though I don't know where I lie on that, actually, now that I think about it for a split moment, just because I'm more liable, I think, to forget to switch on to my resist cold in a crucial moment than I am to need the resist corrosion. As soon as I see corrosion monsters, I'm usually in a high alert state, so more likely to notice that I'm missing the important resistance, but still optimal play and all that. Not playing in the tourney? Not yet. I do plan on getting some tourney play in, but this series predates the tournament starting for Sundays, so I did want to get onto the usual here, especially since I left Waf here, the Halfling, mid-run a couple of weeks ago, before I had to leave on vacation. So it's nice to get back to it and try and get the win going. We are just going, for great player here, an unofficial great player, I should say. We're playing offline. But on top of that, I do, just want to get the Halfling win here while we're still, I was hoping to get it while we were still in 0.26 officially, but didn't quite manage that, and so now we're off to the next best thing, which is to get this going this week, hopefully get through it in one piece, and then probably switch up to 0.27 even for our Sunday things. But I should say, on top of that, that we are planning to get some tournament play in over the couple weeks here, starting on Tuesday. I'm going to be throwing in an irregular stream that I'm not normally on for, just to get in some tournament play for the first time, because I've been playing this game for on and off for 12 years, and I've never participated in a tournament before. Largely due to the fact that I'm mostly a tiles, or an offline tiles user, but definitely is something that is interesting me more and more these days as a new kind of layer to add on to the game and have some fun with it. So I'm excited to try that out for the first time and hopefully get some good wins there as well. Let's go on that win. Character looks good. Yeah, this run, like when we left WAP 2 weeks ago, we were looking in a rough spot. I wasn't sure, like where are we going to go next? Within the first hour of today's session, absolutely killing it in terms of some of our drops. I should say the main thing of note is this helmet. We got this in our first hour of playing in today's session, and it was everything I was asking for, actively asking for at that moment. So you love to see it. But it does give me less excuses to fall back on, so at this stage, I gotta get a win with this character, right? Safe to point out the knock on wood. I don't think my table is real wood. I can steal a joke from one of my favorite social studies teachers from high school. His main thing was always knock on wood. Make sure you smack that dumb skull. But that should do it, right? Besides, we make our own luck, as we've discussed on and off throughout the session today. If you believe hard enough, it will be so. And so it will. We will get through this run in one piece. Honestly, easily compared to previous runs, I'm sure. Well, we toe that line somewhere between self-assuredness and manifest destiny, while also not falling victim to overconfidence and hubris. It's a tough life we live, but somebody's got to do it, right? And scroll of noise, perfect. Also, it's funny to see Crimson Imps with such powerful weapons in their hand. Definitely worth a small chuckle there. +2 Demon Blade of Electrocution. Ooh. We could swap. Could start, I mean, we have some nice cross-training into long blades already. We could start to think about switching towards a weapon that might have an easier time with some of the more advanced AC enemies that we find in the late part of the games. But I also kind of love this quick blade. We were somehow lucky enough to stumble upon an acquirement scroll before we even got to Lair, which resulted in this quick blade. I think moments after we entered Lair is when we finally got around to identifying and reading that scroll. So it's been with us the whole time. That means something, you know, we gotta show respect to the ones that got us this far. So maybe we'll stick to the quick blade for the time being. Even though the game does just keep throwing more and more demonic weapons at us, including a bunch of those being artifacts. The trident, not quite as tempting as it would mainly be on other characters. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to pop myself up to 4 pips, 5 pips of willpower, 5 pips of willpower. But unfortunately, one of the racial traits of the Halfling here does mean that we'd have to give up our shield in order to use the trident as a swap weapon, which I gotta say I'm not quite willing to do. Ooh, and speaking of things to switch to, we have Boy Cuff here, which evocable blink, not too bad. Our poison, unnecessary. Probably gonna leave that artifact on the floor for now. Save it for the next adventure, you know? And, okay, look at that. We forgot to switch out of our cold resistance ring again. Works out for us because otherwise that might have been a lot more painful of a start to this fight. I guess that's what I kind of meant by I don't know what to account for. Do we try and play optimally, or do we try and account for my own stupidity and play in a way that is stupid-proof? Questions we must ask ourselves in life, eh? I'm very tempted to account for my own stupidity. Something that I don't do enough of in life in general, I feel. And okie dokie. As soon as we see a troll shaman, I'm more than happy to throw out a few of our evocable charges. Does make a lot of noise, which I'm trying to keep cognizant of just to make sure. That's quite the bounce. Went in here, then like out here. Huh, I mean, I'll take it. I'm not complaining, game. Love it when it works out in your favor in unexpected ways, don't you? And should actually be making sure to take advantage of our ranged weapon here, since I'm not doing that nearly enough in the late stages of the game here. I'm definitely, in regards to my own stupidity, which we were just mentioning, one of the other places that definitely takes place is where as soon as I get comfortable in a run and I feel like I've gotten it under control, I start to get real lazy. So We should maybe try and actively fight against that for once in my life. With our huge bankroll, anything left in the shops we wanted, or did we get it all now? I think we got most of it. I know our shopping list is looking pretty light. The Wands of Acid are available to us, but I shouldn't go through 9 charges in one combat. I should grab those before we head down into Zot, though, as that will be an almost necessary part of any encounter with like Orbs of Fire, or especially if we get any of the really strong like Golem creatures that have a lot of AC. Definitely something to keep mindful of, because you're not wrong about that bankroll. Almost up to the triple bribe level. Should love to see. But more than happy to save the vast majority of that cash. Perfect, we kept her resist cold on, love it. But yeah, more than happy to use the majority of that cash for Zot bribes, and maybe what other cash we have left over, or think that we might have left over. We could start thinking about a shop call-in. I know just earlier I was talking about how that's not exactly the best use of our money with Gozag. It is usually better to save it for like infinite potion petitions and infinite bribes. But it wouldn't be the end of the world either. Plus we might get something amazing. Gotta try the loot box. At least once. And there we go, long overdue, much overdue. I feel like Waf hasn't quickened his heartbeat in a minute here. We get the shaft that we've been asking for so long now. And let's see how she goes. Hoping that we can struggle our way through this in one piece. Also, maybe I should have just backed up and let enemies come to me, already forgetting the lessons that I tried to impart on myself, involving using our Fust Valis appropriately and whatnot. Classic move on our part. Wouldn't want any different from my own brain. And let's use a few of these acid charges, because we can always just go up to those shops and buy them out. It's nice to take care of the summoner before they get too many buddies coming in, because we don't have great opportunity to retreat here. In fact, I should stop retreating now, probably. Yeah, this is the corner where I probably want to be fighting all these bad boys. Not like this, obviously, but we'll do a quick XV, or not even a V, but an X onto this buddy to see which of the berserkers summon them in. Try and take care of part of the problem. Oh gosh. Immediately Earth Mage Troll digging into our shelter here. This was supposed to be our safe place, but okay. I guess we deal with what we deal with. Should be all good in the long run here. Things get a little bit sketchier, drawing in all the attention on the entire floor, including a polymorpher that maybe I shouldn't have been tabbing quite so fast. That could have gone downhill real quick. Jeez Louise, we're really just bringing the hordes directly to us, eh? Frost Giant completely happy to risk the collateral damage coming out of the... or coming towards the Shadow Dragon. Oh, dang it, Giant is too large for the net. I'm a fool. Well, do I drink one of my 8 potions of heal wounds, or potion petition? Probably just heal wounds. And then we'll do a quick XP just to double check some numbers here. We're looking at 37.5 damage with our 1 pip of cold resistance. I'm looking at the Bolt of Cold specifically, since that's the most dangerous ability here. It shouldn't be too scary for us to deal with. Perfect. And jeez Louise, it just continues. My oh my. Unstoppable amount of enemy forces here, and we still haven't ran into a single stairway yet. Hopefully that's liable to change in the near future here. If things really get dire, we will of course be happy to burn a magic mapping scroll, if just to make our lives a tiny bit easier. Ooh, let's not get surrounded on 2 sides though. as the Draconians poison themselves. Great move there, buddies. Keep it up. Love to see it. But okay, here's where things starting to get a wee bit riskier for us. We want to be careful of these Draconians as soon as they start hoarding us. Ooh, and with the Draconian Shifter, yeah, things might get a wee bit dicey. Okay, we got blinked. Honestly, that's sick. That works awesome. Thank you, Shifter. Love to see it. Don't love to see an Ice Dragon right away, though, so let's maybe just turn a corner here. Try and heal up before we draw any attention to ourselves. Perfect. Even switching over to our Foost Ballast maybe to get a couple hits in before enemies are able to approach. Jeez Louise. Quite the mess we're getting ourselves into. Of course, Steps 5 is not the place you want to be shafted to in general. It does make sense in its own twisted way, but I believe Waf is one of the few characters that I feel confident enough with even at this dangerous stage of the game. So let's drop the Scroll of Amnesia, pick up the brand weapon, and here's where we have to come to a decision. This might be the only other brand weapon scroll we get in the entire game. Do I want to put it on my Fustabalis, or do I want to try again on the Quick Blade here, crossing our fingers and praying for the electric brand? It's a tough one, quite the dilemma. Spectral weapon is awesome. I like the distraction effect that we're getting every once in a while on enemies, especially paired along with our Gozag distraction. Big ups. But I'm trying to think of what other brands we might get. If it turns into distortion, I might be slightly unhappy. I don't really love blinking my enemies all over the place, even though it can be good in its own right, don't get me wrong. Guess it depends on how risky I'm feeling. No matter what, we're reading it. So I guess let's get that stage out of the way. And I could do this the old-fashioned way. I'm beginning to show the signs of why we named the character this way. Very much came about from my own inability to make decisions whatsoever. You know what? I'm kind of having fun with the Spectral Blade. I ain't ever used it before, so that's kind of sweet. I ain't ever seen that before, so I think I'm gonna go with the Fustabalis. Ooh, and we get freezing out of it, which isn't too bad. 12 base damage, or 10 base damage as it were, is not too shabby of a mark to go off of there, because that is the most relevant stat when it comes to the freezing and the burning brands, as it were. Yeah, I'll take this fight. At least attempt to. Things go real south, we do have the option to immediately retreat back down the stairs, and we at least didn't leave like a horde waiting for us down there or anything. So it shouldn't be too shabby. So we switch over to our Quick Blade here and just mow down the masses of fire worms. Jeez. Get out of here, you salamanders. Not too bad. We've almost recovered now from our unfortunate shafting. Let's keep it up, shall we? Guess I was going to switch to my Fustabalis, but Freezing Brand isn't quite as useful against all these undead bad boys. Not too bad. Let's drag all you folks back here. Please and thank you. Perfect. Oh, and in fact... Oh, you know what? Crimson Imp can go, and then... Yeah, if you're just going to hang out on the other side of the lava river here. Dang it, not for long enough, unfortunately. There we go, perfect. I do love that enemies are smart enough to not just stand stupidly in the line of fire, but also kind of sucks in its own right. Also, I'm kind of curious. In general, everything we do is reciprocal in this game, to do with vision. Hey! There we go, I solved that mystery. Didn't even have to wait for somebody smarter than me in chat to come in. I was curious if you just fire blindly into a cloud, if it actually counts. Turns out it does, as we feel more experienced after doing so. Love to see it. It's a nice, safe way to take out a damnation toss-in bad boy. Found into my channel once looking for DCSS streams. You love events so chill. Thank you so much. That means a whole lot, and I definitely appreciate you being here as well. Welcome. Hopefully we can keep that attitude and mentality going as we continue to make our way through. Who knows, maybe I'll become a raging mess at some point after losing one too many characters to the dungeon here. Who's to tell? Perfect, though. We finally officially recovered from our shafting experiences. Much better to be back in the expected territory, even though truly wasn't too horrible. Fortunately, for once, we were completely prepared for it on a strong enough character. Also, holy cow. Thanks, Gozag. That's exactly what I would like to see. But we'll do a quick shopping trip before we pop in there, even though Gold Dragon, 2 Guardian Serpents should be okay to take this fight. Golden Dragon, of course, being the scariest opponent there, especially if they choose Bolt of Cold over and over again. I'm really going to start sweating it, but who knows? Let's see what the shops have in store for us. Maybe something that will save us from such a grisly fate. It's a real thing that can happen. Crawl burnout is mean. I can totally understand it. I'm hoping that I'll be, if not immune to it, at least slightly resistant to its effects, if just because I do love me permadeath games in general, and I'm not that great at all permadeath games. Some might even argue I'm not that great at this permadeath game, and yet somehow I've managed to stick with it. So I'm hoping that's a good sign at the very least, but maybe something to, yeah, keep aware of. Make sure that I'm not either burning out or getting angry, because yeah, the burnout side of things, I guess I'm not fully addressing there, which is totally true. During the early 0.27 trunk, you got hit with it so hard. Was that largely due to some of the like more temporary effects of trunk, or was it just kind of a situational like multi-factor thing? Because obviously there's so many factors that can play into something like that. And ooh, would you look at that? Finally hit the 10k gold mark. Really showing our love for main man in the sky Gozag. Love to see it. Yeah, I'm ready to switch to our corrosion thing. Any point in time there, I'm always very scared and cognizant of any enemies that have corrosion abilities, of course. When the monster melee buffs were brand new, fortunately since then the monster melee buffs have been nerfed. Still stronger than in 0.26 though. Yeah, I've read a lot about that. I've only played 1 or 2 games in 0.27 so far, so I'm not fully aware of the scope of the changes from a personal anecdotal point of view. But I can totally imagine, especially considering the fact that melee characters are normally so comfortable and so strong at that stage of the game, to all of a sudden get that thrown in your face, and you know, all the muscle memory and anecdotal experience that you've built up over so long is no longer quite doing what it normally did for you. Especially since, from how I understand it, Nine Settler, you're a lot better at this game than I am, so I'm sure it hits you a lot harder when things change like that. Versus I'm still just kind of an idiot at any point of time, so there's a solid 50-50 coin flip that I'm just going to throw around a run anyway. What's the difference if it's just because it got a bit harder? But definitely can totally understand that. You had a strong melee character, you think Hofi, that almost died to a single orc with a war axe. It was nuts. Jeez Louise. You mean this in the best way possible? The stream reminds you of a super chill PBS show. Think Bob Ross, the music, laid back personality, teaching the viewers. I love to hear it. That's definitely a vibe I can get down with. Thank you so much again. But not even a warrior, just an orc? Oh, geez Louise, yeah. That is rough. And that, you were saying though, that at least was in the earlier stages and it did get slightly nerfed from there. So the way I understood it now is that the main concerns for the most part are really strong, hard-hitting enemies because they're attacking slightly faster. Things like your first ogre with a spiked club is liable to cause a nightmare situation. But yeah, the melee is less insane now. That's good to hear. Just in time for me to get there. Definitely necessary if I want to survive with any melee-based characters. Especially since I've gone through such a like roller coaster of my comfortability level with different types of character starts. Like for the longest time, I could only play melee characters well, which makes sense. When you're first starting this game, I feel like that's often the case. And then I hit this weird stride where all of a sudden I was failing miserably with all melee characters, and this wasn't even with that melee change. This was just some kind of mental block that I'd put up. And all of a sudden, all I could get through the mid part of the game with were full like blaster casters or ice elementalists, because I love ice elementalists. Starting handbook, the old one that is. Now that they've lost summon Ice Beast, I'm kind of worried about my ability to pilot them with quite the same safety level, but it definitely makes me curious for how I'll play through 0.27 when we do make the switch here. And yeah, D1 Hobgoblin with a club, almost unbeatable. And same goes for the D2 Halberd Null. That actually, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. One of the only 2 games that I've played, which was, yeah, when I was testing out web tiles to make sure that I was at least the least bit proficient with it. After so long of playing offline, I was worried about some of my ability to control things, but I was playing as a gargoyle fighter that should have had no problem with a null pack that I ran into, and I was just getting slaughtered. I didn't die, but I took some nasty hits and it was blowing me away. But right, gotta fully internalize the melee changes, the melee changes. It's really funny. But yeah, the classic D2 null with the halberd. Always good fun. Okay, I think this stairway is safe. It is indeed. So I'm gonna head down here. You son of a gun. This was supposed to be my safe place. And right, GDR was also changed. With more AC, you have more GDR. That I do like as a change, because I also often felt pigeonholed into going with a heavy armor build as a warrior. It was almost like, why wouldn't you when you need that GDR in order to succeed in some ways? But, or so, that is nice that you can actually maybe get by on a lesser piece of armor or lesser base armor that is just maximally enchanted and stuff like that. It makes me a bit more willing to throw enchantment scrolls onto like a scale mail with a good brand or something. Well, that would normally on anyone that I was even debating going heavy armor, I would probably have resisted doing that in the past, just because if it ain't plate armor, why do it? Or crystal plate even. Holy crap. Boris, don't want to deal with you right now, bud. This is always a fun buddy to fight against. Especially since we have to kill him a couple of times, potentially. That iron shot, oof. Very scary. Very, very scary. One update that I'm excited for in the 0.27 is being told the probability for enemies to hit you, because that's something that I've never had a great understanding of, the evasion, how it works for a character in this game. So I am definitely looking forward to playing with that change in effect. But let's pull out all the stops, shall we? I'm going to clone Boris. I'm going to potion petition, trying to get a few effects in one go here. I was hoping for haste and might, but I mean haste, brilliance, resistance, and invisibility. Might and resistance are both solid out of that, so I actually will take that one. And evasion is a placebo. I do like that, because I completely agree with that level of thinking. And I might have... Oh, and I missed earlier, you mentioned that the plate armor GDR is like 30 AC. Okay, so yeah, that definitely is about an appropriate level. That makes a lot of sense. But, hey, thank you so much to Painikin for the host. Appreciate it a whole lot. And let's see here. What else do we do against Boris, you son of a gun? Acid Wand. Not quite the effect I was hoping for, but let's take a step aside so that we're all just ganging up on this bad boy. And File Floods does nothing against this caster in particular. Let's Acid Blast you one more time. Perfect. Now, taking it nice and slow here, a couple of iron shots will ruin our day completely. Hey, there's one. Good to know. Also, thank you, Babs. Grab my water for this, too. Definitely necessary, as I've been in this hot room for a while, just completely forgetting that I even brought beverages in with me. But Boris, I don't think that's permanent. I can't remember off the top of my head. I feel like Boris has a chance to always revive after you kill him. It's not quite as consistent as Natasha. Could definitely be wrong on that, though. Something to keep in mind is that we definitely have the ability to run into Boris once more. I guess not even on this floor, right? Boris can show up anywhere in the game again. Always a fun time. I wish I should keep track of like the max number of times that I've ever ran into Boris in a single game, because I'm sure I've gone at least 3 before, I feel. But I'm sure that if it is just a percentage chance and it can keep going if you're unlucky, you know, eternally. Or maybe he always revives and you just never know which section of the game. Sometimes it's in Pan, sometimes it's in a Hell. Let's maybe not stand in the middle of all the simulacrum. That's great. Much better decision. Fortunately, these are mindless monsters, so we don't have to worry quite so much about them shuffling past us or doing any sneaky maneuverability things, or maneuvers as it were. Sir? Okay, there we go. And one more Frozen Hydra. Love it. All the Frozen Hydra pals coming at us at once. There would have been a time where that would have absolutely scared the heck out of me, seeing as how painful the first dealings were with a 7-headed Hydra, I believe. It's nice to get to the stage in the game where all of a sudden what was once an insurmountable challenge becomes an alright thing. About Boris in the 0.27 orb run, he can generate, and he's perma-haste and perma-brilliant if you have the orb. Oh, lovely. So fun. Now that actually is very cool. I enjoy little fun challenges like that, and especially since the uniques are one of my favorite parts about this game. Always a lot of fun. Okay, Juggernaut can hit real damn hard. Still not gonna one-hit kill us though, so I'm gonna risk a few slices here, trying to keep him distracted between all of the buddies that are ganging up around him like that. Oh geez, this got bad real quick. Let's back up once. Want to keep my distance from this buddy, but I was trying to think of some guaranteed hits that we can get down. And in fact, our spectral weapon should at least do a little bit in that regard. Perfect. Ice Blast is guaranteed to hit, but maybe an acid charge would do slightly better against you, eh? Now let's try it out. As long as we take care of the Juggernaut. Not quite, so Acid Wand it is. Perfect. And then that's all you can ask for. Let's make sure that I'm not playing this too stupid. 45 damage. As long as I'm not quite in one-hit range, I'm willing to risk it a little bit. He was not killing enough people. Classic problem. Don't you hate it when your ancient Lich Deathlord isn't killing enough players? Ridiculous. No, that's great. I actually really enjoy that. You do want to have a couple of uniques that will always be a consistent thorn in your side, or, you know, have at least one unique that no matter what stage in the game you see them, will make you clench up a bit in fear. All part of the fun, as it were. Oh, another Artifact Demon Blade. A-game, really want that. Really want me to switch over to that. Well, we may as well switch over to a Ring of Flight. Let's check it out. Evoke, no, ability is the one there. And let's see, we can read one of our many scrolls of Identify that I'm carrying around for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And, hey, there we go. A Demon Blade that isn't amazing. Doesn't make me struggle with a hard decision. That's nice.